Hey, this is SubGnosis. I am showing the making of my newest level, Ephemera Chapter 2, A Whisper Glimpsed. In this level, I believe I have the first example of two-dimensional animation ever actually exhibited within LittleBigPlanet. I will explain how I arrived at this effect, and hopefully I could inspire a couple of other people to follow in my footsteps and do something a little better. But for now, I will simply show off what the effect looks like to the best capabilities of my web camera, which is kind of shoddy, but what can you do? Anyway, you step into this booth, you get a blinking light that establishes a sense of stationary, that the character is stationary. Then these other further lights, the character still appears stationary, yet images seem to be moving behind the playing character. All to the effect of animation, which is fairly neat, in my opinion. I will now show how I arrived at this. So, here's my level. Let's turn on the lights for a second. That's the booth the character stands in. And as soon, I'll show it with the lights off. Once the character's waiting in the booth, the lights start blinking. The sides disappear. Then the floor disappears, and you drop. As you drop, each of these images is shown behind the character in a scrolling motion. But due to the nature of the game and the nature of the human eye, flashes of single images appear as moving objects, appear as a singular moving object. So you get this frame of animation, followed by this frame of animation, followed by this frame of animation, to the interval of the blinking lights, which happen at the same point in a repeating pattern of backgrounds, which once again gives the illusion of the character being stationary. This, of course, is actually the fundamental basis of all animation techniques. The human eye can only see a certain amount of frames a second. Fortunately, this is nowhere near the optimal 60 frames a second that the human eye can see, but it's still pretty neat. It's clocking it just over 2 frames a second, which is rudimentary at best, but I enjoy it. Over here, you got some boots stomping. Nothing too fancy about that. Probably nothing you've never seen before. I believe it's in the 3rd level of the story game, but I thought this was a neat little take on it. Here's a skateboard challenge I put in which the player uses a cigarette to light a fuse, which sets off fireworks that activates a moving skateboard. Once again, nothing entirely new, but I feel it has a sense of gritty realism to it that you would see in a sort of city street. Once again, the lights are off. The actual board is much more moody if you watch my playthrough. This is another neat little effect that I built in, which I felt was fairly original. The character over here, sitting at the cafe, ashes her cigarettes. And the way I provided this wrist movement is, if I zoom in right here, you might notice that there's a guide rail going on the forewrist, along with a, if you can see, behind that bracelet, a bar, a guide bar. So what that does is it allows the hand, which is attached to the wrist with a spring, to have the illusion of free motion, but it is still confined, getting a flicking sort of effect, which I thought came out actually very, very well. Also, I've never seen anyone do that in a level, but I'm sure it's been done before. This is a boss. He's a cat. Nothing too creative about that. I just, once again, going with the city theme. Although he does have an interesting way of being terminated. I've never seen a boss fight that could be won simply by, well, that bird is over there, and she's building a nest. If you push the eggs from the bird to the cat, here comes Papa Bird. Takes care of your little cat problem for you. In terms of the actual fundamental aspects of the level, that is about it. There's a much more in-depth storyline going on, which can be seen at the earlier stages, including Ephemera, a Prelude, and Ephemera Chapter 1, Frozen Assets. This stage is concluded. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. Any questions or comments would definitely be appreciated. I would love to see a couple of other people potentially try the same technique, or even better, improve on it. If this can be pulled off, I mean, it would make me happy, and I'm sure it'd make the rest of the community happy. I guess I'll see you guys in Ephemera Chapter 3.